Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad HAZIQ Abdul MUTI and I'm from Group 19. Our group has 4 members, that is me, Abdul Rahman bin SUHAIMI, Chong and RAIHANAH binti Mak RASDI.
Okay, so I will introduce myself. So my name is Abdul Rahman bin SUHAIMI. So now I will continue our group presentation, which is 2.0 work breakdown structure, which we call WBS. So 2.1 introduction of work breakdown structure. So WBS is in hierarchy structure. So it function to divide work to several components. So this WBS will display overall work that will be done in our project. So this WBS will manage from the large topic to smaller subtopic. So looking forward to the next slide. So this is 2.2 WBS in Township, including green building and infrastructure with budget 2.2 billion. So we have Township 2.2 billion, we divide it into two, which is building 1.6 billion and infrastructure 0.6 billion. So in building, we have 7 components, which is agricultural, commercial, residential, educational, industrial, religious, and initial, recurring, and final. So for agriculture, we have farmhouse and farm workshop. Commercial, we have mall and shopping complex. Residential, we have 3, which is bungalow, terrace house, and apartment. Educational, we have 2, school and university. Industrial, we have multi-story industrial and special type. And for religious, we have mosque and church. And finally, initial, recurring, and final, we have 5 more elements, which is labor, material, machine, energy, and information. So for infrastructure, we divided into 6 points, which is aviation, we have airplane, bridge, power and energy, we have solar, railroad, we have heavy road and high speed rail, road, initial, recurring, and final, we also have same as building element. So moving to the next slide. Okay, so we have 2.3 estimation cost. We divided into two, which is 2.3.1 green building and 2.3.2 infrastructure. So for green building, we have agricultural building, we have farm workshop and farmhouse with total cost is 100 million ringgit. Commercial building, we have mall which is 340 million ringgit and shopping complex 260 million ringgit. So the total is 600 million ringgit. And then we have residential building, we have bungalow, terrace house and apartment with total cost 200 million ringgit. We have educational building, which is school, 45 million 480 million ringgit. We have university with 156 million 520,000 ringgit. So the total cost is 200 million ringgit. So we have industrial building with total cost 300 million ringgit. We have religious with total cost 100 million ringgit. And then for initial, recurring, and final, we have 5 points, which is labor with 7,500,000 ringgit, machine 29 million 276,000 ringgit, material with 46 million 864,000 ringgit, energy 12 million 360,000 ringgit, and lastly information, we have 4 million ringgit. So the total cost for initial, recurring, and final is 100 million ringgit. So total cost estimate for green building is 1.6 billion. So move to infrastructure, we have aviation, which is airplane with 300 million ringgit. We have bridge 100 million ringgit. Power and energy, we have solar 100 million ringgit. Then railroad with high speed rail and heavy rail, we have total cost for railroad is 25 million ringgit. Road, we have 50 million ringgit, and initial, recurring, and final, the total cost we have 25 million ringgit. So the total cost estimation for infrastructure is 600 million ringgit. So moving to the next slide. So now we move to 2.4, which is cost analysis based on WBS. So as you can see in this slide, we have three types of costs, which is preliminary, design cost, and construction cost. So for preliminary cost, we took 18% from the total construction cost. So the value we will get is 396 million ringgit Malaysia. And then for design cost, we took 12% from the total cost, so we will have 264 million ringgit. So for construction cost, it states the overall cost for our construction project. So we will have 2.2 billion. So for additional statement, we have for total cost estimate for our building and infrastructure is 2.2 billion. And then as you can see in the bottom right of this slide, we will see that it state that the total cost used for green building is 500 million, and total cost used for green infrastructure is 300 million. So this cost we already include in the total cost estimation. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm Raihanah. I'm going to present the cash flow diagram. Okay, first, a cash flow diagram is a visual representation of a financial problem that depicts all cash input and outflow as a horizontal timeline in this project. It is can assist us in visualizing a financial issue. The flow of a cash is depicted as arrow on a timeline scale to the volume of the cash flow, with cost pointing down and receipt pointing out. All right. First, for the cash flow diagram, this is the diagram of the cash flow. Then, for the calculation for inflow, we can see I calculate the initial cost and the bank loan per a year. After that, the initial cost and for the profit. Okay. Then I calculate for outflow. That is actual cost divide by 7 years. So that's how I get the outflow. Alright, this is the life cycle costing of depository building design. For the cost item, they have three, which is a minimum, maximum, and average, and contain initial cost, interest charge, maintenance and operation, indirect cost, and design. Okay, for the initial cost, for the minimum, I state here is two, uh, 2 billion, and the maximum is 2.2 billion, and the average is 2.1 billion, and interest charge of this is 2 200 million, and the maximum is 250 for the maximum, 250 million for the maximum, and average is 207 million for the average, and the maintenance cost is 500 million. The maximum is 600 million, and the average is 550 for the million for the average, and indirect cost is 400 million for the minimum, and the maximum is 500 million ringgit, and the average is 550 million ringgit for the average. And for the cost of design, the minimum is 264 million, and the maximum for the design is 265 million, and for the average is 226 million.
Thank you, Rahana. A very good day to everyone. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Chong as a group member in this group. Now, I would like to introduce the calculation of life cycle costs that used to assess the total cost over its life cycle in this project. The formula of the life cycle cost is 0-year construction cost plus the present value of all recurring costs minus the present value of residual value at the end of the project. The overall project cost is 2.2 billion. Utility cost is 500 million. Maintenance cost is 35 million. Service cost is 30 million. And lastly, system replacement cost is 26 million. By using the formula of the LCC, we can get the total amount of LCC over 30 years of life cycle is 2 billion and 791 million. Next is the project finance analysis. The total construction cost is 2.2 billion. It is divided into debt and equity. The debt is the borrowed funds, which is 1.5 million, while the equity is the rest of the collected funds from sharing of share to public and Bursa Saham. The calculation of debt is shown. The given interest rate of CIMB Bank is 6% and the total years to be completed is 7 years. Therefore, the RD is equal to the 0.06%. The next section is Capital Access Pricing Model, CAPM. CAPM is usually used to determine expected returns on capital investments. In this project, it is used to calculate the investment risk and the amount of expected return on equity. By using the formula of the CAPM, we can substitute the risk-free rate, correlation with market, or known as sensitivity, and the expected return from the market. And the value of the expected return from the share is 10%. With average cost of capital, WACC is also involved in this project. WACC is frequently used to calculate the company's cost of capital. In this project, it is used to determine the cost of the company's capacity based on its proportion of equity and debt. By substituting the stated value, which are equity, debt, cost of equity, cost of debt, and tax rate into the formula of the WACC, we can know that the percentage is 9.9%. The profit of the project was also calculated to measure the accomplishment for this project. The borrowed debt from CIMB Bank is 1.5 million. The interest of bank is 90,000 per year. The amount to be paid to the bank per year is 1,590,000. Total sharing price of the green buildings is 5 billion. Therefore, the profit value is calculated as 2.8 billion, 900 million, and 10,000. It can be concluded that the net income is positive. Therefore, the company is liquid and has a higher probability of paying off its debts, paying dividends to shareholders, and paying its operating expenses. That's all from me. Thank you. This project can be concluded that total amount 2.2 billion will be used to construct this township, including green building and infrastructure. The profit gain is around almost 3 billion. The work breakdown structure is crucial at every step to identify each level of project. That's all from us. Thank you for listening.